Good evening. Call this regular meeting of the Fairborn City Schools Board of Education to order August 1st, 2019. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Philo, call the roll, please.
Mr. Wilson.
Here.
Mr. Browning.
Here.
Mr. McCourt.
Here.
Mrs. Malad.
Here.
Ms. Reister.
Here.
Okay, I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, Jerry Browning.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Reister. Any,
Mr. Browning.
Yes.
Ms. Reister.
Yes.
Mr. McCourt.
yes.
Mrs. Malad.
Yes.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes, motion carries. I have a motion to approve the minutes of the Thursday, July 18th regular meeting.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. McCourt.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Malad. Any additions, corrections, comments? Okay.
Mr. McCourt.
Yes.
Mrs. Malad.
Yes.
Ms. Reister.
Yes.
Mr. Browning.
Yes.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes, motion carries. Okay, board member reports and good of the order. Mr. McCourt.
Just a couple things. I've been able to get around to some of the buildings. I always like to do that around this time, just to see some of the old buildings and how they shine. And kudos again going out to the custodians, because they take what at the end of the year looks like the building's in terrible shape, and they bring it back to that luster that they do. So, I mean, hallways and windows and everything else. I mean, it's really starting to take shape. At Baker, the gym floor had been sanded, new coat of paint, and everything is on that, which looks very good. So that also looks good. And, of course, the construction site, which I don't want to steal Mr. Lawley's thunder, but things are looking well out there. And that's about all I have.
Okay,
Thank you.
Mrs. Malad.
This week, we've done all things band. A lot of us have. So I'd like to encourage everybody to stay and watch the preview show after. So it's been a fun week, and kudos to the Greta's and their staff, because dealing with 80 children 13 hours a day is something that nobody should really have to do, but they've done it. So that's all I have.
Okay, Ms. Reister.
I want to give a shout out to Emily and the IT department for their hard work on all of the new monitors and the new cameras going in at the high school. Very exciting stuff. Technology upgrade, safety and security for our staff and students is always excellent. Again, the new primary school is coming along fabulously. It's awesome. There's like walls, interior walls going in, which is so cool. And then again, all things marching band. Us band parents breathe marching band this time of year, so that's good. And then, in case you didn't know, today is Katie's birthday. She's 29 again, so we're gonna sing happy birthday to Katie.
Oh, no.
Yep.
Yeah, we are.
On camera.
Happy birthday. Ready?
Yep.
All right.
Happy birthday to you.
She had an orchestra back there.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Katie. Happy birthday to you.
Aw, thanks, guys. That was very sweet.
And that's it.
First time anybody sang happy birthday to me today. So
No?
I
It was
appreciate
bad.
How many
that.
times
It
can you
was
be
wonderful.
29? Katie,
150?
how many times can you be 29?
Yeah, a few.
That even
Thank
sounded
you.
halfway decent.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, Mr. Browning.
Okay. Yeah, not a whole lot to say. You know, what I was going to talk about has been said, but the primary going up is very exciting. You know, I've heard people say they get goosebumps when they drive by and look at the building going up, and it does. It's exciting times. Look forward to next summer when we move into it and start making those transitions. And then just, you know, I've always been an advocate of the music program and the band, and I've come out a couple nights and kind of watched a little bit of band camp, and it's amazing how hard those kids work. I asked them, are they exhausted every night? And yeah, they are exhausted. And they're having a preview show tonight, so anybody that can go out, it's at, 7 or 7:30 when they start it, and it's worth seeing. And just prepping for school. I'm looking forward to, the first day meeting and then opening day of school and seeing the kids back in the building. So, thanks.
Okay. All right, I don't have a whole bunch to add. We did participate with Mr. Lally and our new assistant principal at the high school, and
What place did you come in?
and our state representative in the golf scramble fundraiser for the athletic club on Monday. It was a nice day outside, and that's about all I'm going to say about it.
Couldn't do it all. Just couldn't do it all.
No, but we had some fun out there, and that's the important part. And we raised a lot of money for the athletic department too. So it's amazing the turnout of people that show up for that. So that's a great thing that Mr. Gayhart does. Jack Gayhart coordinates that, and the rest of the Gayhart family does a heck of a lot of work putting that together. So thank you very much for doing that every year. So we'll move on to recognition of visitors for any public comments. If anybody wishes to address the board, please step up to the microphone, state your name and address, and limit your comments to 5 minutes. And anybody? Okay. Seeing no one, we'll move on to school district presentations. Mr. Lally?
Mr. Jeff Patrick, Director of Business Affairs, will give us a construction update.
New project in place at the primary school. As you drive past, you'll see some actually second floor decking has been put in place.
Start over.
Emily's waving at you.
Yeah, got to record this.
So we'll start with the new construction at the primary school. As you see, the decking for the second floor, some of that has started, which is exciting. Walls continue to go up. We have a meeting coming up Monday about the topping of the walls, which means we're getting closer to where they need to be, which is exciting. Steel continues to be laid and so forth. So that project is coming along as we would hope. We know that we're still a little bit behind due to the weather in the spring, but we are moving forward. I feel pretty good about where we're at this point in time. Even though, yes, we're behind, I still think that we'll get to that June date that we need to get to. So I'm excited about that. The intermediate, some of the news that's happened at the intermediate, it's been kind of quiet other than the fact that we've been meeting with the city. The city has a street grant that they'll be doing along Maple next summer, the same time that we'll be starting our demolition and construction at the intermediate school. We talked about some right-of-ways and so forth, but we'll work through that with the city. It's not a big thing. We just have to work out the legality of everything. But that should be all pretty smooth and so forth, and that's been a pretty quiet project at this point in time. As far as stuff that's happening around the district, as you said earlier, the security cameras in this building, actually we have some live coverages going on right now as we speak. So they're coming along and finishing, and definitely will be up and running the first day of school and so forth. So that's a good project. Happy with the company that's doing that, and I think the administrators will be happy with that too. It should hopefully cover everything we need to see, so that'll be good. That is a project that is over a $100,000 project, and we will be using some grant money that we received last year to pay for some of that. So that will be that'll be helpful. Blacktopping, as you saw as you drove in, basically it's finished. It looks great. Here there's some blacktopping that got done over at Baker also. In front of you, you have a quote to start to fix part of the roof at the high school. Basically, that would be what I would kind of call like phase 1 of either phase 3 or 4. That would basically hopefully replace the entire roof here over the course of the next 3 or 4 years. So the area that you're looking at is a little bit different type of roof than we have any other portion of this building. And I think that was 24 feet by 120 feet, something. I think that's approximately the dimensions of the area that they'll be fixing. And that company has told us kind of made us a guarantee that they can start in September, which is by far the earliest that we've had with any company to be able to do that work. So hopefully that gets done. And then as you drive around town, earlier this summer, we added an additional custodian/outside helper to every building. And I think the buildings and grounds look pretty good from the outside, and they've done a really good job with mowing and weed whacking and bushes and so forth. I think they've done a great job with that. So that's just some of the quick updates of building projects and current projects that we have. Any questions?
About how long will this roofing project take at the high school here?
We're not too sure about that. Hopefully, they're going to try to work it in between 2 jobs.
Okay.
They get it worked in between 2 jobs, and if the weather holds out,
And if they don't run into,
yeah. And it shouldn't be a real bad job. They think they can put it in between 2 jobs. So when they tell me that, I'm thinking they think they can get it done pretty quickly.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Thank you.
No.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Okay. We'll move on to the budget and finance item. I have a motion to approve the 2 items there.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Browning.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Reister. Any comments, Mr. Philo?
I will have a presentation at the September meeting on the end of the year finances. So I moved it for the essence of time for tonight. But,
Okay.
end of the year finances came out better than expected, and give you a full update on it.
Good.
Okay.
Good.
And how do the new projections look for the next?
Started working on them, and with the new state budget, they look better.
Good.
Good.
Yes.
And so, okay, thank you.
Mr. Browning,
Yes.
Ms. Reister,
Yes.
Mr. McCourt,
Yes.
Mrs. Malad,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes, motion carries. Okay, administrative reports and superintendent recommendations. These are a whole variety of various hirings and stipends and so forth. Runs through page 5. About the top section of page 5. So I have a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. McCourt.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Reister. Any comments, questions about any of these items? Okay,
Mr. McCourt,
Yes.
Ms. Reister,
Yes.
Mrs. Malad,
Yes.
Mr. Browning,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson.
yes, motion carries. And then, for those of you in the audience unfamiliar, we receive all of this stuff about a week ahead of time. So we're able to review it and ask any other questions or so forth that we have. So
Right.
although it looks like we're flying through this, we have had a chance to review it and ask questions about it.
Mr. President, it shows on the agenda items 10 or 11 and 12, executive session and adjourn from the executive session, but at this time, we do not need an executive session.
Okay.
So,
So we'll remove items 10 and 11 and 12? No work
no
session?
need for a work session.
Okay. So that means a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Browning. Thank you, Ms. Reister.
Mr. Browning,
Yes.
Ms. Reister,
Yes.
Mr. McCourt,
Things are happening too fast.
Yes.
Yes.
Mrs. Malad,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes, motion carries. We are adjourned.